I met Pat Shanahan the other night in the street, and he was looking very downhearted. I said, "What's the matter with you?" Well, he said, "The other morning I looked out the bedroom window, and he said, I saw this tramp walk up and steal me front gate off the hinges." I said, "What did you do?" He said, "Nothing. I was afraid he might take offence." Take offence. She's explaining that to her over there, by the way. The British government have been planning to build a motor tunnel from England to France for the last 80 years, and it's now underway. Now, the British government sent tenders to countries all over the world to get a price to build this fantastic tunnel. Australia said £600 million, Americans said $1,000 million, Germany said £500,000, and they got one offer from Murphy and Son Builders, County Kerry in Ireland, £500. They thought this was ridiculous, so they got Murphy to fly over, and he addressed the board, and the chairman said, "Now, Mr. Murphy, how could you possibly build a tunnel from England to France for £500? And Murphy said, well, he said, "You see, there's only myself and the Son." He said, "You see, we cut out the middleman. See, that's how we do it." You see, he said, "The Son goes over to France and starts digging from that side," he said, "and I'll start digging from England," he said, "and we'll meet in the middle, and there it is." And the chairman said, "Well, supposing you don't meet in the middle, what happens then?" And Murphy said, "In that case, you have two tunnels for the price of one." Oh, dear God. Listen. As we go through life, I don't understand how people can be sort of obnoxious and rude to each other. Life seems to be far too short to be like that, ladies and gentlemen. I remember one time here, and you know, I was at a dance, and there's a lady sitting alone, and I think she's lonely, and being a gentleman, I walked up to her, and I said, "Good evening, would you like to dance with me?" She said, "No, I'm particular who I dance with." I said, "Well, I'm not, that's why I asked you. I mean, I tell you, about 2 years ago here, there was flooding in this country for 6 weeks non-stop. You'd never seen anything like the floods. And this little fella, Murphy, dashed into the pub one day, and he said to his pal Casey, he said, "Your house has just been washed away by the flood tide." And Casey said, "It couldn't be." He said, "I have the key here in my pocket." This fella Shanahan went to the doctor last week, and the doctor examined him, and after half an hour he said to Shanahan, "I can't find anything wrong with you." He said, "I'll have to put it down to drink." And Shanahan said, "That doesn't matter, I'll come back one day when you're sober." This fella Murphy went into the pub the other night. He ordered 6 pints of Guinness, 6 vodka, 6 brandies, and 6 lemonades. And the bartender said, "Would you like a tray?" He said, "No, I have enough to carry as it is." We all like to help out during the harvest season here, and by the looks of things, it won't be that good this year, will it, the harvest? I went to this farm one day, and I said to the farmer, "Could you use me on the land?" He said, "We have special stuff for that." It's the way you ask them, you see. They don't understand how... It's the way you ask. They don't understand, you see. We laugh at politics, we laugh at religion. It's good to laugh. To see humour in all things is marvellous, though. It really is. I'll tell you, this fella, this old farmer, you see, up in Donegal, he went to confession, and the priest said to him, "Did you ever sleep with a woman?" And he said, "I might have dozed off once or twice, Father." Now, they're all explaining that around the room here. They really are. This fella, now this is a favourite story of mine. I want you to listen to this very carefully. This fella Murphy, he won £500,000 in the Irish sweepstakes, and he went to Boston, lovely Boston, to see his brother who lived there. Yes, lovely Boston. And on the way back, the plane had an emergency, and the pilot told them they might have to ditch, you see. And, of course, Murphy thought, "My God," he said, "I'm after winning £500,000 and I'm going to be killed." So he got down on his knees in the plane. He said, "God," he said, "if you get me down safely, I'll give you half my fortune." And eventually the plane landed safely, and as Murphy was getting off the plane, this priest walked up to him and said, "I couldn't help overhearing your very nice gesture." He said, "I'm sure you'd like to start right away to give half your fortune to God." And Murphy said, "No," he said, "after the plane landed," he said, "I made a new deal with God. I told him if I ever went up in a plane again, he could have it all." But we see humour in all things. The wife, the mother-in-law, religion. Of course, the clergy are relenting a little bit now. They're allowing a new pill here in Ireland for the women, you see. It weighs 3 tons. And the women roll it up against the bedroom door, and the husbands can't get in. And she's explaining that again here. This fella Murphy and his wife went shopping in Dublin to a big supermarket, and they had the baby in the pram, you see, and they left the baby in the pram outside the supermarket, and they went in and got the groceries. And when they came out, they got the baby in the pram, and they're walking away about 100 yards, and the wife got hysterical. My God, she said, Pat, we have the wrong baby. He said, keep quiet, this is a better pram. But humour is so necessary to our well-being, you know. If we realised how much we needed, we'd chase it more. We really would. It's imperative that we laugh. This fella Hennessy was going to make his first parachute jump, and just before he was going to do the jump, he was having a final briefing by the instructor. And the instructor said, now, Hennessy, this is what you do. He said, first of all, you have to go up in the plane. Now, he said, when you're up about 6,000 feet, he said, I want you to jump out. And he said, seeing that it's your first parachute jump, he said, I don't want you to pull the ripcord until you're about 10 feet from the ground. Because he says, if it doesn't open, you won't have far to fall. You got to write that down. It's lovely, isn't it? These two fellas, Casey and Flanagan, they were fond of a game of golf. They were great sportsmen. One day they met in the street, and Casey said to Flanagan, he said, I had a funny dream last night. He said, I dreamt there was a knock on my door. He said, I got up, and outside the door, he says, were the world-famous golfer Jack Nicklaus. He said, and he invited me out for a game of golf. He said, and I went out and I played golf with him, and I beat him. And Flanagan said, he said, that's funny. He said, you should have mentioned that. He said, because I had a dream last night too. He said, I dreamt that I went home to my house and two of the most beautiful ladies in the world were in my house. He said, Sophia Loren and Elizabeth Taylor. He said, and there I was with the two ladies. I couldn't entertain them on my own. And your man said, why didn't you phone me? He said, I did, but you were out playing golf with Jack Nicklaus. You know, we in Ireland refer to men from different counties as a Cork man, a Kerry man, a Sligo man, a Donegal man. You know, if he comes from that part of the country, that's what we say. He's a Kerry man or he's a Cork man. Anyway, this fella Murphy, he got a job, actually. Murphy got a job as the first mate on a ship, on a cruising ship. And one day the captain sent for me. He said, Murphy, I want you to proceed to cabin 36 and have the occupant who died during the night buried at sea. He said, yes, Captain. So he went away, and an hour later he came back and he said, Captain, I proceeded to cabin 26 and I had the occupant buried at sea. And the captain said, good God, I said, cabin 36, who was in 26? And Murphy said, a fella called Maloney from Kerry. And the captain said, was he dead? And Murphy said, well, he said he wasn't. He said, but you know these Kerry men, they're terrible liars. You got to write that down, it's a good one. A little bit of heaven fell from out the sky one day. It landed in Galway, and it is called Connemara, one of the jewels of the Emerald Isle, untouched by the so-called progress of our great big modern world today, which needs a lot of help, believe me. Anyway, my sister lives there. Life goes by quietly and peacefully. But there was a big circus in Galway last year, and this big elephant escaped from the circus, and they couldn't find it for 2 weeks. And do you know where it finished up? In my sister's back garden in Connemara. It did. And she went out to hang up the washing and she saw it. She nearly died. Oh, she nearly died. She'd never seen the like of it. She rushed into her husband. She said, Pat, for God's sake, will you come out quick? There's a funny-looking animal in the garden and he's picking up the potatoes with his tail. And her husband said, what's he doing with them? She said, if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. Now, Don't explain that to her. And God forgive us all for laughing at it. It's not a sin to laugh at that, honest to God. It's not a sin. It's only a sin if you take pleasure in it. You know, I stand up here every night. I never get over the joy and the happiness it brings me to hear people laugh. An hour ago, we didn't know each other. Now I feel we all know each other. There's a lot of warmth in this room tonight, and you know why that is? Because for a little while, we laugh together. And when we laugh, everything else is obliterated from our minds. No worries can get in there, no income tax, no mother-in-laws, nothing. We laughed together, and we forgot the world for an hour, and it's beautiful. Laughter is the food of the soul. We can't live without it. If we don't laugh, we disintegrate, as I say, and we die, slowly pine away. Everything we do in life is relative to laughter. To laugh is to love. To laugh is to understand. To laugh is to forgive. We must laugh. The laughter of children is beautiful, and a smile can be devastating. Let me tell you the meaning of a smile. It costs nothing. It creates much. It enriches those who receive without impoverishing those who give. It happens in a flash, and the memory of it sometimes lasts forever. There are none so rich that they can get along without it, and none so poor but are richer for its benefits. It creates happiness in the home, fosters goodwill in the business, and is the countersign of friends. It is rest to the weary, daylight to the discouraged, sunshine to the sad, and nature's best antidote for trouble. And yet, it cannot be begged, bought, borrowed, or stolen, for it is something that is no earthly good to anyone until it is given away. So if in the course of the day your friends may be too tired to give you a smile, then why don't you give them one of yours? Because nobody needs a smile more than those who have none left to give. Smile.